I tried to retouch a lot. I tried to retouch the pictures, and of course it took a lot of time. It took a lot of time. So having a better tool to do this was really mandatory. It was really important to have a specialized tool to be able to post-process the pictures as fast as possible. And of course, Photoshop was not the way to go, because, as I said, the channel mixer was not adapted for this. I know very few people who really understand what is going on with when using the channel mixer. In fact, what are you really handling? What are those channels? What are they doing to your pictures? So yeah, that was like 6 months ago that I came with this idea of building something to retouch in a more straightforward way the infrared pictures I shot. Okay, maybe there are some questions already, but I will go forward and present the stuff when people are coming and connecting. And as I said, don't hesitate to log in on Twitch so that you can use the chat and we can interact in a more friendly and interactive way, of course. So yes, the idea of this plugin came to me because I wanted the whole post-processing stuff to be really more fast, more intuitive, more predictable too, and yeah, my goal wasn't to automate creativity, but just to remove friction and to come back to what color really is. Not sliders, but really color and manipulating color. When I taught the master classes and workshops with a lot of people, and I was teaching how the channel mixer reacts and how to use it, I saw that a lot of people were really struggling to understand what they were doing, and they were not pushing their images to the they were not pushing them the way they wanted. They were always holding back and not getting as far as they wanted. So yes, there are really three things that you need to understand about this tool. So let's go. So first, it's what goes in. What are the images that are going in the plugin? Second, you need to understand what the tool changes. What does it has on top of Photoshop? What does it add to your workflow? And third, how much control you keep over your images. Okay, so let's stop talking about the interface and just put it on an actual image so I can show you how it works, and then if possible you will be able to ask me some questions. So first things first, here you can download the plugin right now. In fact, it's already online. You can go on some web address. I will show you right now. Just a little. Okay. So here it is. when you go on this page, it's called pspanel.janphilippe.com. And you can download a fully working version with a 30 days trial, just by going at the end of the page, and here you can just enter some email address and get the plugin. And when you download the plugin, you will be able to have some CCX file. So CCX file, it's really the newest way of working of Photoshop plugins. Those plugins are called UXP plugins, and they are really straightforward to install. In fact, you just have to double click on it and it will open Adobe Cloud. So just do it like this. Okay, so now I'm here on Creative Cloud desktop app, and so it's in French, sorry, but it asks me if I want to install the plugin. Of course, I will click here, install, and okay. And now I have my plugin that is installed. So the plugin directly appears here in Photoshop. So of course it's locked for the moment. You have to activate your free trial first. So let's click on activate and put it in English, and you have here this button, start free trial. Okay, so now you have 30 days to use this plugin, and so let's dive in directly into what you can do with this. So I have a few demonstration file that we can use, and so here they are, and I will try some of them. And of course, I have some files that you guys sent me over the few last days, and yes, we could try to work on them too. So let's take this one for example. I will open the raw file directly inside of Photoshop. So of course, I will a little bit tweak the raw file, open it. Okay, and that's it. Okay, so do you see my Photoshop? I'm not sure. Are you seeing my Photoshop? Just a minute. I'm not sure you are seeing what I want you to see. Okay, so normally now you have the picture. Okay, so here we are, and I've just loaded some raw file, and the plugin is here. So normally what you would do here on a picture like this, first is swap the red and blue channel just to gain a blue sky and some colored vegetation. So of course here normally you would use channel mixer, and with the channel mixer you will swap, you already know how to do this, of course. You will swap. So you do this very mechanically, and you have this rendering. that is not so striking. In fact, it's not so impressive. The white balance is off. There is a lack of color in the vegetation, so there is a lot to do to make something from this image. So I don't know how you proceed usually, people, but here, using the channel mixer to make the result of the picture better, it's kind of complicated, in fact, because you have to really understand what's going on to tweak the colors. So I know that a lot of photographers will use other tools like curves, hue saturation, and some other Photoshop tools, but they will leave the channel mixer right now. But you can do a lot of stuff with the channel mixer if you know how to handle it well. For example, here I can put a little more red and a little less blue, and I will do the same on the red channel. I will increase the blue factor and reduce the red, and as you can see already, I have something more colorful, more punchy. But yeah, it's not very straightforward. It's a tedious process because you have to change here the output channel to work with the sliders, and in fact you have 9 sliders that are not visible at the same time, and for me this is a big problem in using the channel mixer tool. It's not that the channel mixer is complicated in itself. It's that it's not well designed for people to manipulate, and yeah, that was my core idea, to develop something easier. And so let's see the channel mixer in the Smart Channel Flow plugin I've developed. So let's go back. I will just remove the layer and go back to the original here image. So of course we can hit here the refresh button and start anew. So here you have a triangle gamut of colors, and you can manipulate them in the exact same way the channel mixer does. So for example, I will just try to do exactly the same thing I did before with Photoshop's channel mixer. So let's swap red and blue, for example. So I will put red in place of blue here, and blue in place of red. Okay. So as you can see, I have more or less exactly the same result as before. So, but let's do it. Let's do it again. I will reset and do it again. See how quick it can be, in fact. What was interesting for me to do with this kind of tool is that now you can really explore new renditions of your own image. For example, if you want to boost the saturation, if you want to play with the green channel, etc., you can do it in a very straightforward way. Let's try this. For example, here I will play with the blue slider, the red slider, or even the green one. Okay, so I can do a lot of stuff, and of course inside the same module, as you can see here, my white balance is totally off. So because we are already applying some channel mixer, so we can apply a white balance after this channel mixer. This is why I will click here on post, because it's after the channel mixer. Just click on white balance, and now click on the preview where you want to make your white balance. Okay, so it will neutralize the image, and and you can continue to work now with, of course, with your channel mixing stuff. And of course, so let's reset for the moment. You can use this same white balance, but before the channel mixing. For example, here, if I want to make some white balance here on the stones of the castle, okay, now I've done some white balance right now, and now I can swap my channels and see the result. It's far better than before. Okay, so really quick, and let's see this saturation. It's really punchy as a result. And of course, you can now mix your channel in every way you want. That is, for example, here let's see. You can even have some 720 nanometers rendering. You can go crazy. For example, here you can go with some pinkish vegetation, add a little bit here of red from the blue channel, etc., etc. So you can reach a lot of renditions very quickly inside the plugin panel. Okay, and of course it's not the end, because here you have some advanced controls that are available, and you can change the values of the dark tones in your picture. You can boost the highlights, and you can tweak a little bit the contrast and overall luminosity. And you can finish with offsetting a little bit your channels. So for example, here red, I will just offset a little bit the red, and that's it. And you have, with one layer, one adjustment layer in Photoshop, you have already some nice result. Okay, so let's reset all of this for the moment. What can really make your workflow faster is that you have a lot here of presets that are inside the plugin. So for example, you have the red and blue swap that is recorded. So okay, that is direct inside the plugin, and if you want, you can edit it and tweak it later. You have you have some stuff here, and of course you can save your own presets that you can then apply on a lot of pictures, and once you get one setting right for you, yes, you can apply on a whole batch of picture of a series you shot in infrared. But what is nice too is that when you're doing some so let's do this all over again. I reset everything. I will do my white balance again here on the wall. I will change here some of my colors. Let's do this. Here you have some kind of the IR chrome rendition. So this picture is 590 nanometers shot. Okay, and when you are satisfied with one setting, you can just apply, and now it's validated, and you can add a new layer on top of the first one. For example, here, For example, you can put your channel mixing stuff in black and white. And as you can see, in black and white, you can change what we call the global volume of the image. So it's not very interesting, but you can put this layer in some blending mode. For example, you can use soft light or luminosity. And as you can see, when using luminosity, you can then tweak your picture and change the values of light depending of the channels, depending of the color of your picture. So look at it. It really changes the way we look at this image. Okay, so here, I don't know if you have already questions because no one is writing on the chat, so I don't know if there are still some people there. But the channel mixing is really the core idea of this plugin. But as you can see, it's not the only one module you have in the plugin. There are a lot of other modules you can use and work with. So yes, we will review every module. So I will be a bit quicker, so you don't waste your whole evening there. But yeah, let's open some other picture right now. For example, yeah, I will open this one. So here is a picture that was taken in a very, very dull lighting. There were very few infrared coming through the clouds. So let's reset everything. Okay, and go back to the original image. So here, let's go through the other modules. For example, here I have created some white balance module. And this white balance module, in fact, you are not clicking directly on the pictures to make it neutral. In fact, you have to analyze your image. And for example, here we see that everything is really cyan. So you will click on a color that resemble the dominant color in your picture. So it could be one of this or this one, I don't know. And as you can see, I will just put it like this way. Okay. So as you can see, if I put here some blue, some strong blue or cyan, the plugin will neutralize this color. Just look at the before after here. Look at the sky. It was really, really cyan in the beginning. And because I clicked on this color, that was kind of the main color here in the clouds, yeah, I couldn't neutralize it. So it's really a different way of thinking. You are not working with Photoshop's classic eyedropper that puts everything neutral when you are clicking on some area of your picture. But here you have to use your own eyes and analyze the picture you have in front of you, and yeah, click on the swatch that better represent the main color cast you have on your image, on your picture. So of course you can be very creative, because if I click here on this blue, my image will be yellowish, yellowed, okay, as you can see. So you have a strong mode, a subtle mode, and you can use both of them. What could be interesting here, but of course it's better when you have some contrasty image. I will show you this on some contrasty image. It will be a bit better, like I will open it, this one for example here. Okay, let's close this one. And here, for example, if I use, I don't know, this one, for example. Okay. Then you can vary the intensity of your effect, and you can, for example, protect your highlights. So let's look at the sea here. If I apply the setting on the wall picture, it will be applied to my whites, to my highlights in the picture. But I can protect the highlights and the whites, and then my white balance is not applying on the highlights and the whites. And as well, I can protect the shadows, the deep blacks, and not apply the effect, for example, here on this area. So this way, I can make a tweaked white balance in a much more subtle way. And of course, when finished, I just have to click on apply, and then my white balance will be applied on the picture. Okay, I will open some raw files that you people have sent me. If you're there, I hope you will have some interest in this. So, for example, here we have a raw file shot by Lucie. I won't tweak it a lot. I won't do a lot of stuff here in my raw file. I will just open it directly in Smart Channel Flow. And this way I will show you the third module, which is the selective module. And here it's kind of the same module you find in Photoshop, but in a much more visual way, without all the drop downs. And here, for example, we can work in the reds. Okay, the three are reds, so reds. And then you can work directly in the reds and edit every hue of the main CMYK values. So for example, here if I want more or less reds in my reds, you see it's written. I can add more cyan, like 47, 42 cyan, more cyan in my reds, or 45% more red in my red. So it's really written directly in the interface, so you know what you are doing. So if I put some cyan in my reds, it will contrast a lot the trees, but I will lose the hue I had captured in camera. So here, yeah, when I lower my cyan, as you can see, I will make the red more intense. I can add some magenta too in my reds. I can tweak the yellow, more or less yellow, and more or less blacks. Okay, so let's not oversaturate this. Let's do it like this. And when it's done, you apply, and you can see the before and after right now. What's interesting is that you can combine all the modules, like it's working in a non-destructive way in Photoshop Layers panel, so you can add a lot of them on top of each other. So if I go back to the mixer, for example, and let's try the mono version of the mixer in, for example, in let's try it in soft light, as you can see here. And now I can work on my contrast on the vegetation directly with the channel mixer. So I can really work on the intensity, on the darkness of my reds, like this, okay? But I still keep the very strong reddish, cold reddish hue that I had. Okay, so let's see. Okay, finish, I apply, and then I can switch module or continue working on this. For example, if I want to use the advanced module, I can work on the whites, so like this, or the gamma, or a little bit. Okay, work on this and apply. Okay, so as you can see, I've already done that. Okay, let's go further here with the fourth module. It's the saturation module, and the saturation module will show here. You have the main colors, so red, green, blue, cyan, magenta, and yellow, and you will see the peaks of colors that you have in your picture. The more high is the peak, the more saturated is the color. So of course here you see the reds are really saturated in this picture. So what you can do is click on it. You can click here to edit. I will put just some handles around my peak, and now I can oversaturate. Of course this is not good for this picture, but you can just lower a little bit the colors that are too much saturated in your picture. Okay, and of course you can combine all of this with the opacity slider in Photoshop, or even mask. For the moment we were not speaking about mask in Photoshop, but you can use the masks if you want to apply this, for example, only to some parts, to some areas of your image. So this is one of the, it's really a core feature that can do a lot to your pictures. And then you have here the Luma versus saturation here. So again, it's working kind of the same way, but here you can really saturate, but based on the luminosity values of your image. For example, if you want to desaturate all the shadows, you just have here to lower everything. I will lower here and see the shadows. Let's see the shadows. Sorry. Let's see the shadows here. I've just here left are my shadows, right are my highlights, and I've lowered the saturations of my shadows. See the before and after. Here I only unsaturated my shadows and I can apply it. You can't do this natively on Photoshop. You have to make some masks manually. For the moment, Photoshop is not able to do this automatically. It's not possible. Okay, let's close this image for the moment and I will open something else. Yeah, I have some file. What are those files? I'll try them. Okay. Always open this one. So these are files from Harold. Let's do some white balance, maybe on the white. Open the file and do some second white balance. So I can do this inside the plugin if I want. It's possible, but I will do it in Camera Raw here. And reveal a bit the shadows. Okay, so here is a picture. If you have some differences between, as you can see, your Photoshop image and the preview, you just have to hit refresh and it will be okay. And here you see the saturation in the red-orange, so that is the sky, and you have the saturation of the blues that are the vegetation, and here the barn, etc. So let's work on this. We'll use the mixer. We will swap the channels. So I can do whatever I want, in fact, here. If I want some reddish rendition, I can use my green channel. And for example, okay, I can do this. Okay, so this is possible. Okay, I will apply this way. So here is my channel mixing stuff. And let's go now to the color wheels. So this is the 5th module of the plugin, and with the color wheels, it's working exactly. It's working exactly like when you are color grading for movies. So here you can work in. You can have some variations in the shadows, in the midtones, in the highlights, but again, in a very, very visual way. So for example, here, if I want the shadows to be a bit more cooler or cyan, I will just have to move a little bit this handle. And let's see here the roof. You can see the roof. Okay. You can neutralize it if you want, or cool it a lot. You have your highlights. For example, here you have the snow. The snow is a bit greenish cyan. That is due to my channel mixing choice. But I can make it warmer. Okay. More orange or more reddish. Okay. Okay, so now here, look at the snow. I can edit it with my color wheels. And then there are the midtones, so the grays of the picture, and it will give some global intent to your image. So for example, here I can cool everything a little bit. And I've already changed a lot the color rendition. I like the sky. The sky is pretty good this way. The vegetation, not so much. And of course, it doesn't tweak the luminosity a lot, but it changes the saturation of the colors. And as you can see, here the saturation is making me lose a little bit on details on the pines. So I can change the color, the blending options of this layer. For example, I can switch it in color, and now there won't be any problem. I won't lose details on those pines. So of course you can really have fun with this. I will reset everything. You have 2 modes, subtle and strong. So strong is really yeah, as you can see, it's really putting blue in your blacks, so it's much more stylized, like you know, an Instagram filter, for example. And yeah, you can really give some mood to your pictures this way, in a very quick way. And again, here I'm only working on one layer, but you can stack them up and use masks to make it look like you want. If you have no idea at all, you can try here some different automatic modes. So for example, the random mode, and by clicking in random, you will have some different proposals made automatically by the plugin. And if one is satisfying you, you just have to hit apply and lock it down. So you have 3 different randomization modes. You have random, so it's fully random. You have cinematic. Cinematic will always try you know, to make this very classic color grade that is done on many movies, like teal and orange. It's cold in the dark tones and warmer in the highlights. So yeah, as you can see, your highlights will always be this side of the color wheel, and your shadows will always be in the upper side. So let's try a little more, and as you can see, it's always working this way. And then you have harmony, and harmony will be much more subtle even in the strong mode, and it will work with color harmonies that are documented in all the color theory. Okay, so this is not really a professional mode, but it will help you find ideas and be creative with your pictures. Okay, when you're finished, you hit apply and it's done. Okay, let's close this picture and I will take something else. Again from Lucie. Let's take this one. So again, it seems like IR Chrome picture, I think, or kinda. I will just develop it this way and open it. Okay, so here were the first 5 modes where okay, just okay, the 5 first modules were really working in RGB color space. But you can work with some color space you are not used to. And in Photoshop, you can't mix RGB and CMYK. It's difficult. It's not possible. You have to change your whole way of working inside the file. So for example, here, if I switch to CMYK and I already have, for example, some mixer stuff or whatever, this is not really possible. So when I click on CMYK, as you can see, Photoshop is opening a sidecar file, and that sidecar file is not in RGB color mode, it's in CMYK, so you can work directly in CMYK. And the CMYK mode, for me, is really useful when you are working in infrared. For a reason you will understand really quickly, is that when working in RGB, you have red, you have blue, okay, and you have green, but there are very few pictures with green inside them. And here you have cyan, the sky, and you have magenta and yellow. And magenta and yellow are often visible colors in vegetation when shot in infrared. So here what I can do, for example, for the trees that we are seeing in the background, is like I can double click here and I can look at this, I can add some magenta in the magenta channel, and look what it's doing in the trees. Okay, you can then add some magenta in the yellows, but there are very few yellow on this picture. Okay, so let's work on the sky now. I will use cyan and I will put more cyan in the cyan. Look what it's doing in the sky. It's really nice. Okay, I can work with the yellows, for example, add some yellow in whatever color I want. So for example, adding yellow in the dark, so it will add yellow in my shadows. Look at it. Look here how I am regaining. This is really interesting. Sorry, my graphic card has some problems. Here it's really cold. It's really bluish on the architecture of the bridge. So if I put more yellow in the blacks, it will, here I will really have the rusty effect, and I have this rusty effect without any mask, and that is not really doable in RGB mode. So look at this. only with one layer, and this layer, it's a native Photoshop layer that is the channel mixer that you already know, but in CMYK mode. And with this, you can do a lot of stuff, far more stuff that what you can do in RGB mode. So look at it, it's really nice. And this way you can really recolor your shadow. Think about the tree barks when you are editing infrared with a lot of trees. You have generally a big color cast on the tree barks, trunks, and with the CMYK mode you can edit them easily. Okay, so when you are done with it, you just have here to click on apply, and it will come back to your main file, but as a smart object, because you have to encapsulate CMYK inside an RGB file. It's not possible otherwise. So here is your CMYK editing, but you can double click on it and you can tweak it, mask it, change it, what you want. Okay, and let's dive into the last module here. It's lab module. So lab, it's another way of working with color inside of Photoshop. So Photoshop was not really made for lab, but it's still working. And maybe some of you have heard of this lab mode. It's really something very powerful, but very few people know how to handle it correctly. So here, when I'm, for example, if I want to change my the mode of my picture, I have RGB. This is my main file. This is the standard way of working with colors inside of Photoshop. You have your CMYK mode. We just saw that before, and you have the lab color mode. So it will work exactly the same way it did in CMYK. That is, making a sidecar file the time you are working in lab color mode, and when you hit apply, you come back using some smart object inside your main RGB file. So let's click on lab, and here the plugin just analyzes 12 to 15 main colors of your picture, and you can directly work on them. So let's see how it works. So here, for example, if I take the blue here, I assume that this blue, because of course it's a big round shape, so it should be the sky color, and you can move it and edit only the blue of the sky. Okay, so of course you can't do whatever you want. Putting it here, you will have some problems around the edges, or it will be fringing a little bit, etc. And here we are working again with some native Photoshop lab curve. So as you can see, this is the curve that is currently being made, but by the plugin. And you can do whatever you want. Here, if we want to work with the red, you can select two colors. Maybe those are the trees in the background, and I can move them and see how it's working on the trees. Okay, I can edit the trees. Let's take the white here. The white. Okay, the white. These are the clouds, and I can put some yellow, some red, some blue if I want in my whites, so in my clouds. Okay, so here I've done this with the lab module. So of course I have the blacks too here, as you can see, and I can try editing my blacks, and as you can see I can totally change the colors of my shadow, so it's not as visible as with the color wheels. That is why you really should stack up and mix all the modules to get the desired result on your picture. But let's see this. Okay, I've done this. Of course I can do whatever I want, huh? If I want something more orange. And okay, I have, so this is only for color, but you can switch to the lightness mode of the LAB module of Smart Channel Flow. And here you can work only with lightness. And for example, here I can brighten up only my clouds, or put a little bit more darkness inside of them, edit my sky. So of course you have to be very careful with this, because it can really break your image. So you have to be very moderate about this here. Just a little bit blacks. Okay, so as you can see here, the LAB mode has totally changed the picture. So when you are finished, you hit apply, and here you have your LAB mode on top of the picture. So let's see all of what we've done. So this was the base picture, channel mixing, but it's nearly doing nothing. CMYK module, LAB module. So this is just an example of what you can do with Smart Channel Flow. And let's see one last file. So here it's a bit underexposed, so I will crank up the exposure, lower the highlights, add a little bit of contrast, maybe a little bit of clarity just for an apparent sharpness, and a bit of vibrance to have some colors. So this should have been taken, I think, with some yellow filter. Let's go back to the mixer. So here I can of course mix, but if it had been taken with some yellow filter, you see with the classic channel swap I don't have my blue sky. So I have to play here to find out how to gain again my blue sky. And on this kind of pictures, yeah, you can go really creative to exactly find the type of rendering you're seeking. Okay, let's try the sky. Okay, so now I have this rendition. I can apply this, and now if I want, I can have a second mixer on top of this if I want. So for example, here I can use the advanced cursor. I can work on the clouds, contrast, a little bit darkness maybe. We'll apply. Let's try with the white balance if I can do something nice, because it's a bit greenish, so I will try with some greenish stuff. Protect my highlights, it's already done. Okay, you can see clearly the difference here, far better. I will apply, and then maybe we use saturation. You see that the blue are very saturated, and I can lower a little bit my saturation on the blues. Apply. Let's work with CMYK maybe. We try in the yellows. I put a little bit more yellow in the yellows, but a bit less yellow in the cyan, so I can gain up my sky. Okay, my yellows are really nice. I can put some more magenta in my yellows. So here in the center of the handle, you will see the resulting color. And as you can see here now, the yellows are a bit orangish, and it's exactly the case on the picture. So it's really visual. That is exactly what I wanted to make. It's something very simple, very straightforward, and with a lot of visual cues on your tools, not relying only on sliders, etc., etc. Okay, I will apply this. And as you can see, the beginning, mixer, second mixer, white balance, saturation, CMYK. So before and after. Okay. And of course, if I want to tweak further, I can tweak further. For example, my mixer here, if I want to make a white balance here on the gray, I can make some white balance here on the gray. So of course, it will totally change my image, and maybe I will have to use some basic Photoshop blending option just to gain on my clouds and shadows. But then, as you can see, okay, I've done this to neutralize, and of course I can combine all of this with masks. So if I want to use masks, I can use, sorry, my Photoshop is now burning from heat. Okay, so as you can see, I'm trying to neutralize all of this using one of my mixer. Okay. And of course I can use the opacity slider or whatever slider I want just to finish it up. So yeah, that's it. That was some, yeah, quick or extensive, I don't know, presentation of this Photoshop Smart Channel Flow plugin that was especially designed for infrared photographers to make things, yeah, more efficient, more quick, more straightforward. So if you have questions, don't hesitate to ask me some questions. You need to log in the chat so we can exchange. Just to let you know is that you have. I just wanted to show you one more thing. To download the plugin, so you can download it freely and install it, test it, etc. extensively on your own Photoshop installation. You have to go to this address here, so pspanel.janphilippe.com. You just have to put your email address and download the plugin. If you use the code SummerFlow15, you will have 15% off your purchase. that's it. So thank you very much. We weren't very numerous here, so that's not a problem. But yeah, don't hesitate if you have questions. Just shoot me a message or an email or whatever to ask if you have some questions about the plugin or about the demonstrations I just made on the pictures. That's it. So I will stay here for a few minutes, and if you want to ask some questions, you're of course welcome to do so. Okay, if there are no questions, people, I will just stop now. Thanks a lot for having followed this live presentation of Smart Channel Flow plugin. Thanks a lot. Bye bye.